Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on reviewing Halloweenish films. That's right, and actually, believe it or not only is this, a Halloweenish film, but this is the first stop-motion film that I'm reviewing straight from the stop-motion studio, Leica. And fun fact, a bit of history for you, originally, Leica was at first called Will Vinton Studios. Yeah, so that's right. I'm, of course, reviewing, from Leica, ParaNorman. Yes. And since, this year, it's celebrating its anniversary. And, believe it or not, I've never seen this film until now. And I've said this before, sometimes I haven't gotten to, it's one of the, to put it this, it's one of those movies that I just never got around to. But now I have, so. But anyways, so ParaNorman, I thought it was pretty good. Man, I tell you, because Leica and how their style of stop motion is pretty interesting. Well, not to mention, when it became Leica Studios, like one of their first films, as they became as they, changed, what I'm saying? Like, it now went by Leica Studios. One of their first stop-motion films by that name was, as we all know, Coraline. So, yeah. And after that, they would go on to do this and The Missing Link and, bunch of other stop-motion films. And there was one God, I forget the name of this one, but, the Samurai Warrior or whatever, that film. Although, hold on a second, I've got this on IMDb. It would clearly show what I'm talking about. Yes, Koba and the Two Strings. I watched a little of this, actually. Not the entire film, just like a good chunk of it, so. But I have seen the Box Trolls. I think even my mom and we did watch the Box Trolls at one point. I guess we thought it was pretty good. I mean, heck, I remember when the trailers came out, not to mention the very first trailer, we were seeing the behind the scenes, that was pretty cool. So I've seen that, and now I have finally seen ParaNorman, and yeah, as I said, I thought it was pretty good. It is a pretty good stop-motion film, and it's very perfect to watch during Halloween. And directed by Chris Butler and Sam Fell, and written by Chris Butler. And do I know the name Chris Butler? I'm just, very quickly, because, he's pretty much been a full-time, employee, writer at Leica, doing a lot of the Leica stop-motion films. But anyways, so the story of ParaNorman. All right, so now let's come to the story. A misunderstood boy, clearly, takes on ghosts, zombies, and grown-ups to save his town from a centuries-old curse. Yeah, so basically, yeah. The kid, our main character, Norman Babcock, if I'm saying the last name right, there's something very different about him, and that is he can see ghosts, he can interact with them and so on, even though the townspeople, they can't see what he's seeing, and they just find him very strange, and, yeah, and, a bunch of other kids, of course, there was that, one, bully who, called him a freak and such. It was not him, no. It was, I now remember. It was Alvin. Alvin, voiced by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, if I'm saying the last name right. And then there was this one other kid that became a friend to Norman, and he was a fat kid named Neil, and he was being called fat. On their lockers, Norman's locker was spray painted to the word freak. For Neil, his locker was spray painted to, fat. So, poor kids. Then there was also, at the beginning of the film, we get to see Norman's entire family. And the first one we see is Norman's grandmother, voiced by Elaine Stritch, if I think I said that right. And, well, it turns out that she's dead, actually. But, of course, he can see her ghost. And the parents, there was Sandra Babcock, and I didn't even realize that. I mean, I know her voice very well, but I'm just saying she sounded a bit different. I'm just saying. I wasn't thinking of her when hearing her voice, and that is Leslie Main. She was the voice of the mother. And yeah, I can tell by the father's voice. It was Jeff Garlin. He voices Perry Babcock. And then there was the daughter slash sister of Norman, Courtney, voiced by Anna Kendrick. Yep. And Courtney, just this average like teenager on the phone, and like that kind of talk, and doing her toenails. Yeah, that kind of girl. And then, like, Neil, because I forgot to mention Neil, like the voice of Neil, Tucker Albersey. I think I got that right. Yeah. And then there was Mitch, I believe, not Alvin, Neil's older brother, voiced by Casey Affleck. Yeah. And, basically, because at times, like, something strange happens. Well, the thing is, he sees, Norman is seeing this one guy who interacts with him. Wasn't he preferred as Norman's uncle? I'm not sure. I heard the word uncle, but I just can't remember. Mr. Prendergast. I think I got that right. And I was slowly but figuring out of who the voice was, and I figured, and yeah, it's he was voiced by John Goodman. Although I kind of feel like I felt like he was kind of doing a voice for him, but most of the time when he's done a character voice, he most of the time uses his regular voice. So, from Sully, Pacha, what's-him-face from Princess and the Frog. And remember that he did a voice in Clifford's really big movie? He kind of gave that character a bit of an accent, but, like this, like something like that. But anyways, then there was also one other character who, I was a bit surprised didn't join in the group, and that was Aggie, voiced by Jodelle Fearland. No, my mistake. It was not Aggie. Sorry, spoilers. I didn't even get to the end. But this one other kid. Oh, who was it? Well, she's not really showing, but there was this one kid with braces, and she has a little part in the movie, she doesn't join in the gang, like the group that joins in with Norman, because all of them, and even like it was shown in the trailers, like, Norman's sister and his fat friend, Neil, and then the bully, Alvin, and Neil's older brother, Mitch, they all join in with Norman after, they see what's going on, and since, it first started with Alvin, but also, Norman and Neil, they were part of this, school play of, the witch being hung or something, and Norman's just having strange visions, and right in the middle of that, and he embarrasses himself and his family, and even, God, Norman's dad was such a harsh father, you know what I'm saying? Sandra was, the calm one, and even, trying to calm, I guess, her husband down, so, but yeah, as I said, basically, John Goodman's character has Norman, take on a book that he had and he was going to read, because of this curse. And unfortunately, John Goodman's character died, and even say when Norman went to this, cabin or shelter or whatever, where his dead body was, that was a pretty funny scene. He was trying to get the book, and the dead body was the corpse was just still holding on to it. And even when he got the book, and John Goodman's character tipped over on Norman, and even the tongue stick out. That was pretty funny. Even say at one point, yeah, Alvin kind of after Norman rides his bike and passes by Alvin, and Alvin then comes to where Norman is at a gravesite and kind of snatches the book away from him. Well, he doesn't realize what's gonna happen yet, and then something like scary in the clouds happen. It's like the clouds, the cloud face of a witch, basically. And the curse has begun, and zombies are unleashed and are like chasing Norman and Alvin. And then, of course, yeah, Courtney and Neil and Mitch join in, and yep. So like throughout the rest of the movie, like all of them like together and running away from the zombies. Even the townspeople start seeing the zombies too. But then eventually, because, well, it turns out that the zombies weren't really chasing after Norman and the kids, and they're not really the bad guys. In fact, you know, we find out, Norman finds out from one of the zombies, which is the judge, being voiced by Bernard Hill. Yeah, I know that name, Bernard Hill. Yeah, I know him. Basically, even like, oh yeah, because Norman at one point earlier in the film had a vision, like, you know, saw what happened, like in the, I guess in like the 1800s or 1700s, whatever, probably right somewhere right there, that they were, you know, that this little girl named that was pleaded guilty and like I guess was a witch or something. That's what they thought. They thought, and as the judge, the zombie judge, as was saying to Norman, they thought they did the right thing, you know, like killing her or something like that, but no, because they made a grave mistake, and you know they just didn't know. That's when, yeah, that's I believe, yeah, because the little girl is that witch that's in the sky in the clouds. And then, you know, even Norman trying to get the townspeople's attention to listen to him, and like some of them, like they're just like kind of blaming this on Norman or something, and I really like this. Courtney like stands up for, you know, her little brother and like, you know, shut up and listen to him and so on. And yet Norman just telling them about this whole thing, and that the zombies aren't really the bad ones, and you know they never were chasing them, etc. And yep, and that's when like, yeah, Norman has to read this book to break the curse. Like it's like a fairy tale reading. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. And then at one point, you know, Norman, he comes face to face with the witch, you know? And even like that one infamous like shot, for like we've seen in the trailers, and like spikes coming out of the ground in the woods, like that's a pretty cool shot right there, and Norman trying to avoid them. Eventually, Norman meets with the little girl who was pleaded guilty, as I explained, and we find out the real name of that little girl, and that being Aggie, as I spoiled and said a little bit earlier. And as I said, voiced by Jodelle Fearland. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that name, yeah. And look, yeah, because Norman like mends with Aggie, and I think, yeah, all goes well. And you know, even like say, I think Aggie like was like falling asleep on top of Norman, like, you know, like cuddling up with him, and then she kind of like vanishes, like, you know, and yeah, pretty emotional, I guess. And yeah, it is. And all ends well, like the curse is broken peacefully. So, and yeah, may she now rest in peace, Aggie. And the zombies, well, they vanish too, and you know, everything is back to normal. And even say, yeah, Courtney even had like had feelings over Mitch, and you know, like Courtney was saying, you know, to Mitch, well, you know, they should like catch a movie, not scary. And Mitch was like mentioned something of like bringing along his boyfriend. So I guess, yeah, Mitch is gay, probably so. Even Alvin was like talking to these two girls, like, you know, like if he was being interviewed and saying that, you know, claims that him and Norman, they're like best buddies or something like that. Oh, Alvin. I think even Alvin was kind of hitting on Courtney a couple of times, and like, of course, Courtney, you know, gross, and you know, well, even when say Courtney, Alvin, Mitch, and Neil, they were standing up to Norman. You know, they were all holding hands. Alvin did not reach for her hand. Like, it was pretty funny. Like, it hit, like, hitting her by the butt cheeks or something. I guess probably so. That's probably what it was. But yeah, all ends well, and because I mentioned, and also Norman's grandmother and being mentioned a couple times, and you know, she would like be sitting on the couch in the living room, and even at the end, like the very last scene, the dad asks, if grandma's sitting there, and Norman's just nodding yes, and Perry, the dad, like turns and is like, hi mom. So yeah, the grandmother is the mother to Perry. So, and the entire family, they're in the living room and watching like a scary movie or something. And yeah, what a great way to end that film, definitely. Not to mention, this was really cool and a nice little treat. Like, the end credits scene to ParaNorman, it's basically time lapse of the Norman puppet being built and casted, you know what I'm saying? And Norman coming to life on the desk. Like, that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool treat for the end of the movie. Well, actually, because I do remember the same thing kind of happened at the end of Box Trolls. Like, we saw the behind the scenes and like, time lapse of hands moving and like moving the puppets like that. That's pretty cool. But anyways, so ParaNorman, it's a really good stop motion film from Leica, and as I said, it's really perfect to watch during Halloween. The animation is great, the characters are great too, the music as well. Just everything about this was fantastic. And what about you guys? Like, what did you think of ParaNorman, and what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review a like as always. And definitely, I give this a 10 out of 10. I thought this was really good, as I said, without a doubt. So, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of ParaNorman. More reviews coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. And 3 more left. 3 more Halloweenish films left to review. And for the third and final Halloweenish film I'll be reviewing, well, let's just say it's the final installment on a certain animated franchise that has to do with a hotel. You probably might know what I'm talking about. So stay tuned for that. Take care, and once again, happy anniversary to ParaNorman. Peace out.